we will wait a little bit. Okei, tervetuloa kaikki tähän ohjelmaan. Nyt me puhutaan sitten suomeksi. No, we are actually talking in English. I was fooling you a little bit.
I'm just going to sit here again.
Trying to make you nervous even more. This programming will be in English because for some reason they don't teach Finnish in your elementary school, which is weird, but okay.
It's like the one country that England didn't invade. So you learned English because you wanted to. We didn't make you, and we didn't learn Finnish because they were like, well, we have no reason to learn Finnish then, do we?
Yeah, but this is Gwer Barr and Harry-Anne Bentley, who are our British guests from Dragonhide Studios. And I am H-P Lehkonen. I am one of the festival artists in here this time. And now I'm interviewing them because I know you from a long time ago.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out how long yesterday over dinner. Is like,
but we were too
not
old,
sure.
so we don't know.
Well, everything before 2020 is a bit of a blur anyway.
Yeah. It happened pre-COVID, but we don't know how much.
It was at a convention in England, Thought Bubble in Leeds, and there was like a pre-day where it wasn't open, you could just set up. So we were setting up our table, H-P and a bunch of other Finnish comic artists were setting up a table, and we were like, hey, they look gay.
They have gender.
We should hang out with them.
And thus we hang out.
Yeah.
To this day, we have been hanging out. Okay, but first off, I want to hear a little bit about Dragonhide Studios, because that's in the main, that's what we are talking about, and a lot of people in here might not know what Dragonhide Studios is, so please elaborate.
We're a small indie publishing company from Leeds in the UK, based out of our attic mostly. And our basement. Our basement also plays a huge role in story. Thank you, basement. We started out with our friend Cami D from Germany, who wanted to publish his comic Get Your Man, but had no experience running crowdfunding, had no experience with English publishers, and was just like, hey, you have a website for distributing stuff that your friends make. Do you want to do my thing? Please help. I don't want to interact with big scary things. Like, Cami didn't want to be in the video either, but the metrics were all like, oh, you've got to do a video. People won't click it if they don't do a video. So we did a video of Cami's dog that Cami then spoke over and pretended to be a dog throughout the entire thing. That crowdfunding went really well, and we published that book. We bought URLs, ISBNs, made barcodes, and then we just kind of kept going and doing more and more niche projects of people who wouldn't get published otherwise, or were having difficulties.
Right. Prior to the publishing, we did a little bit of our own artwork, and I did leather work, and then we decided that was obviously the ideal segue into publishing other people's work. That was
such an obvious thing.
And also, like, because now you have been going more and more into, like, not even hard to publish, but also just like kind of like niche subjects, like you've been working together with Tab Kimpton with anthologies that are like very popular, but also still kind of niche because they are like queer erotica, and then also Finnish Sara Valta's book that is already like quite popular in Finland, but like polyamory is kind of a niche subject, so you know, still staying in the niche.
A lot of the individual books that we've published or got done is we've been helping to translate and localize different people's works. So one of the works, I'm just going to go for it. I don't know where the camera is. Sex Grease, which is a Spanish production. That was like they produced everything. We just translated and got it made in English, which means it's got a slightly broader audience because statistically more people speak English than Spanish. The same with Polyamory Comics, which is Sara Valta's, obviously finished to English, and then Antholo, which was, and this is where I fail, Is it Portuguese?
And he's from Venezuela.
Yeah.
Anyone know what the language in Venezuela is?
But anyway, we try out to localise that to English as well. So that's predominantly a lot of what we do, aside from getting made into physical books.
Yeah, so not everyone here was published before we worked with them. Like Cami had a small publishing mini comics.
German.
Yeah. Cami had a German publisher, Straße, who was doing just mini versions of kind of the stories, and then we did an omnibus, which is like a big collected, chunky book. Omnibus.
And the same happened with Saravaga's book. Like it's like half as thick. The English version is like twice the size as the Finnish version.
Yeah, because it came quite a bit later, and there was a lot more comics and a lot more like stuff that she was able to write afterwards, and just give us a lot more to work with. It was a really interesting process, that one, because there was a lot of like, is this too much of a finishing joke? Do British people know what movements are? We do, but we have a very dumbed down version, I found out, which is interesting. Never seen the image of Moomin Papa holding a gun at the road. That was new. That was spooky. Yeah, and like, there's also some minor things like changes, like Sextories. We needed to make it a little bit thinner, because otherwise it would get too thick for British shipping. It would go from large letter, and large letter is very cheap, into small parcel. And small parcel is basically a shoebox.
Very expensive.
It's more than twice as much. And so we're like, we need to cut some pages, just not even that many. It's very on the borderline, and it's going to be a bit too much. So we literally cut like the chapter contents, a couple of illustrations, and then had to figure out, because the double page spreads were now wrong, we had to move the last story, which had an odd number of pages to the beginning, to change the layout, and then, yeah, it's the thing that when you change something, even just by language, you can really mess up how the book layout works sometimes. So yeah, localization is a really interesting thing to work on. There's unexpected hurdles a lot of the time.
I would actually like to also hear about the Dr. Anfalo book, because I think that one is really, really interesting. I can hold it while you are talking about it, because this is a really interesting project.
Yeah, so Anfalo, I was already a big fan of his on Tumblr back in the day, where they allowed the sexy men's to be on the Tumblr.
I think they're allowing the sexy men's back onto the Tumblr.
Slowly, they're figuring it out. I mean, I assume they are, because Tumblr Live is just porn, and apparently it's not meant to be, and they're like, yeah, but it is though, so figure out what you want to do. Anyway, Anfalo was putting out that he needed to leave Venezuela because politically it's complicated, and in terms of homophobia is less complicated, it's bad. And so he was putting out, like, I need to leave Venezuela. I was scared by a supermarket robbery that told me to keep walking. I was like, oh, okay. So, if anyone...
Let's get it accurate. He said, I went down to the supermarket and 2 men with machine guns told me to keep walking.
Yeah, and his stories are normally very light. So we were like, whoa, what's going on? And he said, if anyone could donate to my Patreon or my Ko-fi or whatever it was at the time, that would be really great, because I need to do this as soon as possible. And we reached out and we were like, hey, we're big fans of yours. Do you want us to publish your work? Like, we can make you some money. Like, these would make great prints, these would make great stickers. Like, we can help if you want. And he was like, his response was so adorable. It was, I'm sorry, but my work is gay. And we were like, yeah, so are we. We love it. Like, please, give us the gay. Like, what are you talking about? So yeah, then we got this book made. We were in a good position at the time where we could pay for the book to be printed, and then we just cut it 50-50 after costs were covered with him. So now we just get to send him money. And he did end up going to Chile. Chile, unfortunately, was still very homophobic, and he really struggled as an immigrant to get work and financial balance, so he ended up moving back to Venezuela, but with his parents, and it's a whole thing. He's very much supporting on Patreon, and we're basically trying to see if he can save up to move to Puerto Rico, because he has a boyfriend there, and they've been on Final Fantasy XIV for years, and they're very adorable. And yeah, basically, yeah, I reach out to people. We have some stickers as well by 99 Croy, who similarly was there like, I'm a trans guy in a country that doesn't like that, facing financial hardship. And I was like, hey, dude, what you have art. How can we help?
I'll be brutally honest. Most of the work that we've published has been us reaching out to people we're fans of and being like, hey, we haven't seen your work around. Would you like some help getting your work put around? To which most people go, oh, I'm not sure. And then we just fan at them until...
Yeah, we're like, here's what we've done. Do you want that? We can make that happen.
And
it works.
I believe this one is already sold out in here today.
No, it's the Nectar. We brought 10 of these chunky anthologies.
So you still have these ones left?
Yeah, I think we have like 6.
Okay, be fast before
This is the last one of Nectar, which this one I didn't just publish. This was a collaboration between me and a friend Tad Kimpton, hugely prolific queer author and artist, has done a lot of anthologies, and he wanted to do, after Ambrosia, a trans masc and non-binary anthology. He wanted to do a trans femme one. So we made Nectar in the same kind of sphere of trans bodies as sacred, beautiful, and divine. So we have a lot of like gods and spirits in there, a lot of celebration instead of just suffering. And he wanted a trans femme person to work on it with, and I was local. He reached out, and it was really and apparently good. So I have a story in this. Tab did some of the art for one of the stories in this, and yeah, it was really good to work on. It was great to work with people who haven't been published before. Anthologies are a really great way to get your work out there and be able to hold on to it physically. It's so cool. I'm talking to a lot of people this weekend, and they're like, "Should we do an anthology? We should." I feel like a lot of people would be good if we did an anthology. So maybe that's going to be our next thing.
Yes, definitely. We need more. So even there is one of Nectar, so if you want that, then you need to be very fast. With this one, you just need to be moderately fast.
That's the fast one. We all brought a bunch of polyamory comics because I figured if we had any left over, we could give them to Zana because then she would have them. Yeah. I don't know if you have conventions you're going to later in the year, but it was like, look, it's going to make more sense in your hands. Like, I didn't draw this. Like, although people ask me to sign stuff that we published, and I always feel really awkward about that because they're like, I mean, I put work into it. I help with translating, I help with layout sometimes, and all of that, but I don't know, no one normally signs a thing being like, yes, I had a long phone call with a printing company and I fixed some issues that were kind of minor. Like, no one normally signs for that kind of stuff. No one wants the signature of like the editor of like Mad Max or something.
As much as I agree, I wouldn't call layout issues minor.
No, they take so long because you have to reform the whole book. There's so many times with the fonts as well, where it's like, we're doing an anthology, we have a font. We will now need everyone who has done their work in the past and is sharing it here to send us the non-font versions so we can have one font. Oh, you haven't done that? It's okay, maybe I should just white out all of the speech bubbles. Oh, it's background text, I should white out all, I could do that. It's like, oh, okay, I have drawn in this now. I've officially had to draw over certain things to add text.
So yes, anyone here who's thinking of publishing or helping to publish,
save your layers.
No. Yeah. Name everything. Name and file everything well.
Yeah.
What was the other piece of advice? It is very worthwhile and very rewarding, but there is a lot more involved than you think. So be prepared for that. That's the one thing I would say is like, definitely go for it. Like 100% get stuff out there because more art by small press people is just good. But be prepared for it to be a lot more work than you expected, because there is all kinds of little things that you'll think, oh, that's not a problem, and then suddenly the printer will come back and be like, oh wait, all of my file sizes were way too compressed, and now everything looks like it's made out of squares.
We had this issue with our business cards. We had to print new business cards before we came here, because the old ones were quite out of date. And they changed the colours, and I was like, oh, it's cool, it's CMYK, I get how that works. And apparently the M in CMYK stands for purple, Because I made a magenta background, and they were like, here it is, now it's CMYK. I'm like, that's not what that means. What? And your green was fine, and that's not one of them.
So now, next up, I want to ask, like, what are your plans next? You already said that now you're getting that anthology itch that needs to be scratched. But
Yeah.
Is there other plans for Dragonhide Studios?
So we started working with Team Sextories. To give it more context, they're a Spanish team based over in Barcelona. They're wonderful people, love them to pieces. And they recently got married, the two main coordinators, Rocío and Antonio. And they've done like 7 of these already since the relaunch and the rebrand. It was a fanzine, and now it's a full-on magazine and anthology. And I want to do the rest of them. Like, they've done a lot more.
I'm currently translating volume 2, or trying to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, English is our first language, so the outcome is great. But the process to get from Spanish to English is the hard part. But it'll look great when it's there. So yeah, there's also like digital is increasingly a thing, I think, because postage rates are just getting worse and worse. I just heard about how much it cost to send one of a little zine across Finland, and it was like €4 something. And like, it's this big. It's basically 3 letters stacked into a single thing. How is that possible? So I guess that's why more people are doing digital now, because you can save on postage and potentially tax depending on where you are, because England wants to tax everything that's possible.
I was going to say our big goal is to find some way to subvert Brexit, because that has ruined our lives, and just in so many ways.
Yeah, we were already doing a lot of stuff with other European folks when Brexit happened. It was like, okay, now if we send you stock, it's going to be very expensive, so we need to figure out a way to do this. Because we used to, for a previous one, there was a lot of American backers, and we got the postage ready and then put it in a large box and then shipped that couriered to a friend of ours in America, Kodiak Country, who's another artist who's amazing, does a comic called Easy. And now we can't really do that because we tried sending you a bunch of our stock for this event, and it was nearly £100 in €100 in customs. And we're like, I don't know if we can sell enough to make that worth it, but this is more of a fun trip. But yeah, it's wild. So it's like, how do we make this work as efficiently as possible without being like, you know, the asymptote capitalists who print 10,000 copies at a time?
Which we're never going to do.
No, frankly, I kind of don't want to.
I mean, your basement will explode if you try to do that.
We could get a shed. We don't really have a garden, but there's room for a shed.
Well, that's something. Then there's more room for comics.
Oh yeah, you have this thing in Finland called like grass. It's great. You can put stuff on it. There's trees. In England, we have covered every inch of that to make car parks. So yeah, difficult. Maybe we just have a car that just stays there and we fill it with books and we just leave it.
Oh yeah, just buy like a van and just have that there.
Yeah, but there's road tax, so then we have to disguise it as a shed.
Okay, well that makes no sense.
So that you can be taxed if you have a car that you're not driving.
Okay. I have learned something new today.
Before we tangent onto UK
Let's not go into car taxes now.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, things wanting to do next, to get to your actual question. Sextories 2, absolutely. Anthology. And we may have spoken to several really cool people while we're here who have been like, hey, how do you feel about publishing this? And we're like, that seems really cool, we should look into that. And then one person was like, I love your work. Do you want to maybe do a publishing? We have book, you want book? Hello. Yeah, and Gwen was like, here's how words work, Harry. Do you want to ask them like this? I was like,
yeah. So basically, this was a really funny thing because before coming in here, I was kind of worried because the Turku festival is small and this is the 3rd biggest city in Finland and this is not very big, in your opinion. I was kind of being be careful, do not bring too many books, This is a small festival. This is for like very good for networking. So has it been good for networking now?
Yes,
Because I promised you networking.
You delivered, don't worry. There's a lot of people who we've been able to meet that we knew from their work online. My friend Midamon, who is there on my Twitch streams, I got to meet in person, which is so lovely. I've not met anyone from my Twitch streams before in the real world who I didn't already know in the real world, which is amazing. I got to meet Payu, because I met you and Sarah before when you went to Thought Bubble. So I got to meet the mysterious Payu who appears in the background of pictures on your Instagrams. Ilas Niluka, who does BSNL and Boys Can Wear Makeup too, both wonderful series. And then people I'd never heard of, which is so great, because now I get to go home with all these new ads on Instagram that I've then messaged myself the context for to be like, and now I have all of this to read. And then I'll have to pay postage. Maybe we will buy more books while we're here to save on that problem.
Oh yeah, that's a really good idea, to save the money to buy books in here more.
The more books of ours that you buy, the more books of other people we can take home.
Oh yeah, that's also true.
We're not really going to reduce the luggage weight by that much. We're just going to replace it with something else.
It's definitely gone up.
No, it's... Oh, actually.
It's definitely gone up.
Yeah, no, we took a lot of souvenirs. Okay. Yeah, it's gone up, yeah.
Oh, and we still have the Moomin Day tomorrow when we need to go and
Oh,
find
we haven't got any Moomin stuff. Oh.
There are people back home who have threatened violence if I don't bring Moomin stuff.
And salmiakki, I think I do not like.
No, that's just me.
That's just for you, yeah.
Salty licorice.
She has 3 tiny boxes of salmiakki with her, like, mints. And it's like...
And a big bag.
And a big... It's like, we're going out of the house into town. How much do you need?
So, is there something, questions in the audience? Because now is the perfect time for that. We still have 8-ish minutes or something like that.
Oh god, I rambled the whole way through.
That's good. I wanted you to ramble.
Oh yay, any questions? Hello!
What's the best part personally for you being a queer comic publisher, publishing stuff from all the world, from different kinds of artists?
That's a good question.
You said, look like you were going to say something.
What's the best part personally for you? Why are you in?
Okay, this is twofold for me. The first one is being able to uplift other people, because that's just the best feeling in the world. Like, as much as it's good to put your own stuff out there, I feel like being able to give other people a voice and have them be heard is just so rewarding, like the best feeling. And secondly, I get to meet all of these cool people, because like imposter syndrome is real. You're getting to meet other people who are like, and just that feedback is just amazing. Yeah, definitely.
I love it. There's so many people who feel like their work can't be published, or people who feel like specific things, character representation, or smut in a lot of our cases, for their particular like gender or body type doesn't exist, and we get to be like, here's a bunch of weird, diverse stuff, including fictional body types, like real is here, and then it goes into unreal, so there's so much, and something will match what you're interested in. Oh, I'd love to do some more asexual stuff, actually. Separate conversation. I love building the stuff that people want but don't think exists. I'm from actually a very small village in rural Yorkshire. I don't sound like it because I'm English and therefore sound posh. I just sound like an oppressor. I'm so sorry. No. So I didn't have any queer representation growing up in the 90s. It was very much characters who were jokes, and none of them played by actual queer people. It wasn't until I left the small village and found other people that I was like, oh, there's people who are gay and they're alright. They're not living in the laugh tracks and all of that. And I like being able to bring more of that to people, like going to conventions I really love, because then I get to bring it and people get to go, oh, it's that thing that no one has! And I love it so much.
Yeah, thank you. That was a really good question, because I loved hearing these answers that you had. Does anyone else have any questions? We still have a little bit of time for questions.
The things that we do, if that helps, there's leathercraft, illustration, writing, publishing, drag, and editing.
Yes.
Sarah Valton in the front row, wow.
Where do you usually sell your books, or how do you distribute them? Are there like conventions in the UK, or do you like send them out somehow, although it's very expensive with postage, and other people sell them in other countries? Or
I will briefly say it here because not everyone might have heard. So how do you distribute and where do you sell your comics?
As many places as possible, really. So like the website we initially made because I had some stock left over from a convention, and then sort of adding to it with friend stock because I think our friend Paul Savage, who's a comedian, was selling his work on Amazon, and they were taking like 75% or more, like so much. And then that was also from a publisher, so they got a percentage, and there was something else. And so it was like he was seeing basically nothing. And I said, why don't I just get some of them off of you and put them on the website, and then you can link people there, like, because he wasn't posting them out of his house yet. He was touring, he had stuff to do. So yeah, we started doing that, and basically it was a convenient way for people we knew to have someone else post their stuff, and then it kind of built into us publishing things, and then we still basically, some of the people we publish have stock of their own, and they will ship it from their own country, and some of them just have it with us, and some do both.
I will say, and this is not to try and put other people off, a lot of this is passion for us. Like, we make enough to sort of get by, but both of us have day jobs as well. Like, this is not in any way a self-sustaining thing for us at the moment. I mean, there's a lot of things factored in various ways. So it's one of those things, like, as a small publisher, we do a lot of conventions in the UK. We do a lot of direct sales online. We do, and like I say, we try and get our books out to some shops as well, especially in Yorkshire. There's a couple of like travelling man who stock our work, but we don't do it. We don't go through a bigger publisher or anything. We just like we hand them our stock and they'll sell it for us.
Yeah, there's a lot of, especially if it's franchised like a Travelling Man where there's 4 branches, there's a lot of comic shops that if you speak to them will be happy for you to bring in work, especially if they're independent. Larger bookstores, it's very much go through the head management, or if you're not part of a major distribution label, like Diamond, for example, then they really know how to contact you to order more. Everyone has issues with Diamond anyway, so we don't experience that. I'm not
going to start criticising.
Yeah,
and I think that's a discussion for like the after party to start criticizing.
Oh God, yeah, give us
but now
drinks
I
and
think
then
we need to end because we are running out of time. So, super big thank you. Feel free to clap your hands together now. Now it's the time. Thank you, Harry-Anne Bentley and Gwer Barr. And you can still go to their table real fast to get the last ones.
Yeah, if you get us on the way out, then maybe you'll get the last one of this.
Paina sitä